Hello, everybody in Facebook land. If you are watching from afar there, hello, Louis, hello, Alistair, hello, Omar. Hello, everybody. My name is Janina. Now, normally, if you have been to a World Storytelling Cafe kids session before, you'll know that we have a lovely wizard who introduces everybody. Lovely John Rowe with a long white beard and long white hair and a smile that goes from ear to ear. Well, sadly, he can't be here today. He's off doing some crazy storytelling in Ireland, which is wonderful. So instead, you've got me. Hello. I don't have quite as long a beard. My hair isn't quite as grey or white yet, but I'm working on it. My daughter's just told me she could get me a beard. We probably have one in the dressing up box. I wouldn't be surprised. I am John for today, introducing proceedings, and I am supposed to be introducing lovely Despina from Greece. However, I think probably because the moon is full tonight, strange things happen on a full moon. Poor Despina can't be with us today. So instead of Despina from Greece, you've got Janina from the UK. Hello, everybody. I'm going to be telling a story today as well. So, I can see Louis going, yeah, brilliant. Louis been to my storytelling before. I think Alistair has as well. Fantastic. You know, and I know that we are going to go and have a lovely time this evening. Well, I say it's the evening. It's the evening here in the UK. The sun has gone down and the moon has come up, and it is fat and round today. And as I said, sometimes when the moon is full, slightly odd, strange, or sad things can happen. Those things can happen any time of the year, really, or any time of the week. But today, something a little bit sad happened, not to me, but to my friend, lovely Sadie and lovely Nick. Now, they don't live anywhere near me at all. They live all the way over in Canada. And I know that we've got people here from the UK, people here from Morocco, people here. Hi, Norman. Hello, over in the USA as well. So we really are an international affair. My lovely friends in Canada had a really sad thing happen to one of the animals that live on their small holding today. And I just thought that's so, so sad. And they're feeling really sad as well. But, sometimes when a sad thing does happen, when a horrible thing happens to an animal and sadly they're not alive anymore, it is awful, but because they're gone. But actually, I think if we tell their story, they're not completely gone. Not entirely, are they? Their story, they carry on living in that story. And that's what made me think of the story that I'm going to share with you today. Now, if I'm being entirely honest, this isn't my story. This is a story that I snuck up and I stole from another lovely storyteller in the UK called Hugh Lupton. He's also got white hair, not like me. He's got a little bit of a beard sometimes. Not at the moment, I don't think, but he lives not too far away from me at all. But Hugh has been telling stories for a long time as well. And this is a story that he got from Russia. So before we start, I'd just like to take a moment to snuggle down, give my ears a bit of a clean out because I'm going to need those. And if you want to give your ears a switch on and a clean out, then you can. You can give your bottom a wiggle, get all those wiggles and jiggles out of you, make sure you're nice and comfortable. And know that there is a story coming. And it's just for you. So, this story happened way back, right at the beginning of everything. There lived a cat, a blackbird, and a rooster. There lived a cat, a blackbird, and a rooster, and they lived all together in a house with a tiny pitched roof in the middle of a thick, dark forest. And if you want to, you can make that house with a tiny pitched roof. Pitched just means pointy. It's another word for pointy. There's a lovely pointy house in the middle of a thick, dark forest with trees stretching all the way up to the sky. Now, Every day was the same for cat, blackbird, and rooster in their lovely, cosy little cottage in the forest. Every day, the cat would sit by the fire and make sure it didn't go out. The rooster would often be found in the kitchen, pecking over some bread and keeping all of the food ready. And Blackbird, well, Blackbird would do the cleaning. She would pick up things with her beak and tidy them up and put them away and make sure that there were no bits of crumbs left on the floor. She was very good at pecking up all the crumbs. And every single day, at the same time, about 11 o'clock in the morning, Cat and Blackbird would leave the cottage to go out into the forest to find some more food. Every day was the same. Before they left, they would say the same thing to Rooster. Rooster would stop working in the kitchen and Rooster would come and sit by the fire and make sure that the fire did not go out. Every day was the same. They would say to Rooster, Rooster, sit by the fire. Don't let it go out. And if old Foxy comes knocking on the door, don't let him in. I wonder if you can give me a stern waggy finger. Don't let him in. Oh, thanks, Louis. That's a very good finger. And so that's exactly what Rooster did. Thank you, Alistair. That's exactly what Rooster did. He would sit by the fire and he would make sure that coals got put on okay. He would arrange all the logs just so. And Cat and Blackbird would go deep, deep, deep into the forest to go and find some food and berries and tasty things to eat. Well, that happened every single day until this particular day, when the moon the night before had been high in the sky and fat and full and round, just like it is tonight. Cat and Blackbird left the cottage, sit by the fire. They said, oh, lock the door as well today. And if old Foxy comes knocking at the door, Rooster, you got your fingers ready? Don't let him in. Right you are, said Rooster. Bye-bye. And they left. Well, they hadn't gone very far into the forest when, back at the cottage, all of a sudden there was a knocking at the door. It was old Foxy. He did come knocking at the door. And Rooster sat there and thought, what was it they said? Sit by the fire, lock the door, and if old Foxy comes knocking, don't let him... And it was at this point old Foxy said, Little Lord Featherfrock, a pea would be yours if you open the door. Oh, Rooster really loved peas. Oh, and the chance for a fresh, juicy, ripe, sweet little pea fresh from the pod. Oh, it was too much to bear. He couldn't stand it any longer. He knew he shouldn't, but he stepped across the floor and clack, click, he opened the door. And with that, old Foxy scooped him up, shoved him into a bag, put it over his back and said, into my sack, onto my back, my sweet little feathery supper. And with that, he turned and he ran. Poor Rooster was inside the bag and he was being jolted around and he shouted, help! Luckily, his friends Cat and Blackbird hadn't gone too far into the forest and they heard him. They came running back as fast as they could along the path that went into the forest, and there old Foxy saw them heading towards him, and he stopped, and he dropped the sack, and he ran. Well, thankfully, little Lord Featherfrock, old Rooster, was able to get out of the bag, and they all went back home, back to the safety of their cottage with a pointy, pointy roof. It wasn't long before old Rooster was sat next to the fire, pooing and preening and and smoothing out his ruffled feathers. All was well again. Then the next day came. Everything was just as it should be until 11 o'clock. And Cat and Blackbird said, right, I think we ought to be going. We're going out. Rooster, sit by the fire. Lock the door. And if old Foxy comes knocking, don't let him in. Right, yes. Right you are, he said. Okay, no problem. See you later. Off you go. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. And off they went. You probably guessed by now that old Foxy did come knocking at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Little Lord Featherfrock, he said. A nut would be yours if you unlock the door. The Rooster heard him from inside and thought, a nut? A nut? Oh, maybe it's a hazelnut. Oh, I love hazelnuts. I love hazelnuts more than I love peas. Oh, goodness me. Oh, the chance of a fresh, sweet, brown hazelnut fresh from the shell. Oh, my goodness. He knew he shouldn't, but he stepped across the floor and clack, click, he opened the door. Wow. It wasn't long before Foxy scooped him up, shoved him into his bag, onto his back, into my sack, onto my back, my sweet little feathery supper. And off he ran. Old Rooster from inside the bag. Luckily for him, Cat and Blackbird had gone a little bit further into the forest, but not so far that they couldn't hear him. They stopped and they pricked up their ears, or at least Cat did. They heard their friends cry, and they came running back straight down that path as fast as their little legs could carry them. Wow. Fox saw them coming. His eyes went wide. He dropped the sack and off he ran. They all went back to the safety of the little cottage with a pointy roof. And it wasn't long before they were all sat by the fire again, and Rooster was preening and smoothing his ruffled feathers just like the day before. Well, you know and I know that things always happen in threes in these sorts of stories. And so the third day came. Sit by the fire, they said at 11 o'clock. Lock the door, and if old Foxy comes knocking, don't let him in, they both said together with quite a stern look on their face. Yes, sit by the fire, lock the door, and if I got you, said Rooster. Not a problem. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. Off they went. And it wasn't long before old Foxy did come knocking at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Little Lord Featherfrog, a loaf would be yours if you open the door. A loaf of bread, he must mean, thought Rooster. Well, I like bread. In fact, I love bread. I love bread more than I love peas, and I love bread more than I love hazelnuts. Oh my goodness! Oh, the chance of a fresh, warm, sweet-smelling loaf straight from the oven was just too much to let go. Oh, goodness me! You know what he did, don't you? He stepped across the floor, and clack, click, he opened the door. Oh, Foxy scooped him up into my sack, onto my back, my sweet little feathery supper. And off he ran. Cried Rooster, louder than before, and louder than the day before that too. Oh, Foxy's got me in the bag, sack, he's carried me off to the back of beyond, my sweet little feathery supper. He shouted and he cawed and he crowed so loudly. But Cat and Blackbird had gone deep, deep, deep into the forest this time. They'd gone further than they'd ever gone before. And they couldn't hear him. And so they carried on picking berries and gathering up mushrooms. And old Foxy took Rooster back to his den. And when Cat and Blackbird returned to the safety of the cottage, the door was open and Rooster was gone. They knew what had happened. But they didn't panic. They looked down and they saw footprints in the mud. Fox-shaped footprints. And so they followed them. They followed them with their eyes and they followed them with their noses. Because if you've ever met a fox, they really smell. They followed the footsteps all the way to Fox's den. And when they got to the den, they stood outside the door and they sang. They sang to Fox. They thought, we're going to have to outsmart him. And so they sang. Old Foxy, are you within? Your two old sisters have come visiting. Fox, who was inside the den, who had got Rooster and put him onto a plate with a knife and a fork and a spoon just either side of him, was about to... when he stopped and he heard the singing. Old Foxy, are you within? Your two old sisters have come visiting. Strange, thought Foxy. I didn't think I had any sisters. Oh well. He put his knife and fork down, stood up from the table, walked over to the door. Clack, click. He opened his door. And as quick as lightning, the cat leapt up and scratched at his face. Blackbird flew up and started pecking at his head, and Rooster, seeing his friends at the door, leapt up from the table, came round and started pecking at Fox's tail. Well, they were scratching and pecking and flapping so much that Foxy, after a while, managed to struggle and get away, and he ran. He ran for a day, he ran for a week, he ran for a month, he ran for a whole year, and he is running still. Rooster was in one piece. Cat and Blackbird looked at him and said, goodness me, Rooster, are you okay? Oh, yes, I think so. Can we go home now? He said. And so they did. Cat, Blackbird and Rooster turned around and followed the footprints back, all the way through the tall, dark wood, all the way back to the safety of their house with their little pointy roof. And they sat there by the fire, safe in the knowledge that Foxy would never, ever, ever be knocking on their door ever again. And that is the end of that story. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. So that story is from all the way from Russia, and Hugh calls it Little Lord Featherfrock. And I quite like that. Oh, and there's Despina. Hi, Despina, you joined us. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for doing this for me, my love. I'm very grateful. And I really like the Russian story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, you're so welcome. Oh, my goodness me. So, yeah, as I said at the beginning, it's sadly for my sweet friends Sadie and Nick, their story today didn't have quite such a happy ending. But we can tell stories for ourselves, and we can take that story and we can put whatever ending we want onto it. And that's exactly what we've done today with that story for their lovely, lovely, lovely animal that sadly isn't with us anymore. Rooster had quite a close escape then, didn't he? Yeah, it wasn't looking very good, but oh my goodness me. Oh, peas and hazelnuts and bread. I love peas. Peas are good. Peas make a meal just a little bit fancier, I think. Apart from if you have it with, I have them with ketchup, tomato sauce in the UK. And I use that to stick them all together so they don't roll around off my fork when I try to eat them.
You know, Janina, Alistair and I would have, both of us would have opened the door if it was baked bread on offer.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm a, you can't really see, but I'm a fan of bread as well. A little bit too much of a fan. Oh, fantastic. Oh, goodness me. And do you know what? A lot of my stories, a lot of the stories that I tell have got food in them. And I don't know why that is. I love food. Maybe that's the reason why. But food is a really universal thing. Everybody has to eat. And no matter what country you live in, everyone has got a story about food. And I think I've got a little bit more time. What's it, 6:23? Do you know what? I've got another story about food. Would you like to hear another story that's got lots of food in it? Would you? Oh, fantastic. Because this is a story that I want to tell as the story happens. It sounds a little bit of a strange thing to say, but I want to do what happens in the story as the story is being told. And if you are able to stay around and listen, you will understand what I mean by the end. This is a story called Stone Soup. This story also happened way back, right at the beginning of everything. Two travellers were travelling, as travellers do. They were walking. I don't know where to, and I don't know whether they knew either. But they were walking. They'd been walking for such a long time in the hot baking sun that when they saw on the horizon little chimneys with smoke coming out and roofs and houses and trees and civilization, they started to head for there because the sun was starting to go down, and they knew that before long they would need to stop and rest their eyes because, goodness me, they were tired. So they came into the village. And when they came into a village, they didn't know anybody. In fact, they didn't even know the name of the village. They didn't know really where they were, but they knew that they needed to stop and rest. Well, stop and rest and eat. Because I don't know about you, but when I am tired, I often get hungry too. And so they stopped, and because they didn't really have much money, they couldn't go into anywhere to buy any food to eat. They couldn't go into the inn or the pub that was there. So they went into the middle of the village green. This village had a pond in the centre and a large area of open grass and little houses all the way around the outside that all faced into the green. So everybody who lived there could see everybody else all the time, and they could watch their children play outside on the grass. It was a lovely, round, safe village with a lovely, round, safe pond as well. The two travellers sat down in the middle of the green, and it felt good. The grass was cool on their hands and their bottoms. And as they sat down, they opened up their bags and started to get out a few cooking implements, a big pot and a trivet, which is, or a pot hanger, which is a big, like, pyramid shape, 3 sticks. And from that, they were able to hang their pot from it. They built a little fire under the pot and they got it going. Now, one traveller turned to the other and said, delicious thing should we have for dinner tonight? Oh, I don't know, he said. Have you got the stone? Oh, yes, I do have the stone. Would you like some stone soup? Oh, I'd love some stone soup, please. Yes, stone soup, I think, would hit just the spot. Okay, they said. And they reached inside the bag and pulled out a beautiful, smooth, round pebble. A little stone about that big, just big enough to fit into the palm of your hand. It was satisfying, and smooth and cool and nice to hold. Plop. Into the pot it went. The second traveller reached into the bag, pulled out a great big wooden spoon. Put the spoon into the pot and stirred the empty pot with just a stone in. As they were doing this, they were being watched. They were being watched by every single house that sat around the outside of that green. Curtains were twitching. Letterboxes were being peered through. The villagers didn't recognise these two men, these strangers, these visitors. Who were they? And what were they doing, sat in the middle of their green, making a fire and cooking? Said that they had permission to make a fire there. One front door opened. A middle-aged woman stood there with her arms folded like this and lips as thin as two pieces of string. She stood and watched them, hoping they would say something. They didn't. They just carried on stirring their pots, chatting and smiling and carrying on without a care in the world. She walked over. Maybe, she thought, if she stood a little bit closer to them, they might say something. She waited and waited and waited. They didn't say anything at all, of course. She stepped a little bit closer still, until one of the travellers turned around. "Oh, hello," he said. "Hello," she said. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, we're just making some stone soup." "Stone soup? No such thing as stone soup. And who said you could have a fire here in the middle of our lovely green?" "Oh, well, I didn't know we needed permission," said the traveller. "Yes, stone soup. Oh, it's delicious. It's the most wonderful thing in the world." "Oh, yes," said the other traveller. It really is most filling and most hearty. It's delicious. It's wonderful. It's..." "Really?" said the woman, her curiosity piqued. "Really? I've never heard of stone soup before, and I've had 47 years of making soup." "What goes into it?" "Oh," said one of the travellers. "Well, the most important ingredient is, of course, a stone, a soup stone. Oh, we've got ours in here already." And he peered over and saw the little round pebble at the bottom of the pot. He said, "Yes, it's really wonderful, but do you know what? What our soup needs is just a little drop of water, actually." "I don't. Do you have any water?" he said to the second traveller. "No, I don't have any water, not at all." They both looked at the thin-lipped woman. "Well, I could give you some water if you would like a little cup of water. Yes, I suppose I could do that," she said. They didn't seem any danger, really. They seemed harmless enough, she thought, so she turned around and went back to her house and returned with quite a large jug of water, actually. She poured it into the pot and sat it down. "Oh, thank you," said the travellers. "Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, fantastic. Oh, fancy having water for our stone soup. This is great. Oh, brilliant." And they stirred and they stirred and they stirred and they stirred. After a little while, the water began to bubble. Steam began to rise off it. "Nearly ready," they said to each other. "Oh, this is so exciting." They pushed their finger into the soup and oh, that's good. Oh, try some. Oh, yeah. They sat there making a real song and dance about how delicious their stone soup was. "Oh, it's delicious," said the first traveller. He said, "But do you know what it could do with?" "No, what's that?" He said, "It could do with just a tiny little sprinkling of pepper, or maybe salt, but pepper, I think, would be good." "Oh, I don't have any pepper." "Oh, that's a shame." He said, "Well, no, do you have any pepper?" "No, I don't have any pepper." Nobody had any pepper. The thin-lipped woman was stood there, her lips not quite as tightly clenched as they were before. Pepper, I'm afraid I don't have any pepper either. Sorry, I'm fresh out of pepper. But I think my neighbour might have some. Shall I go and ask? Yes, said the man. Yes, if you wouldn't mind, that would be wonderful. Okay, she said, and off she went. She knocked on her neighbour's door. Her neighbour opened the door. Who are those men? Said her neighbour. She said, oh, well, I don't really know, but they seem harmless enough. Do you have some pepper? Yes, I do. Do you want to borrow some? Oh, yes, please, she said. And so the neighbour gave her the pepper and followed her out to the common, out to the green. They gave the travellers the pepper and they added it. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, thank you. And they gave it back and they stirred, and stirred. They stirred the other way as well, just for good measure. And they plunged their finger in and oh, this is good. This is good. This is wonderful. This is fabulous. But what you can do with actually is herbs. Herbs growing around here at all. They started hunting around in the grass and turning over blades and picking up clover and things. Oh no, is that edible? I don't know. No, is that no, I don't think that's not. Herbs, said the second neighbour. I have some herbs growing over from my neighbour's garden, actually, growing through the fence. I think there's rosemary and there's some sage. I'm sure they wouldn't mind if I just a few leaves. Oh, yes, that'd be marvellous, thank you. So the second neighbour went back, knocked on her neighbour's door and said, could I have some herbs, please, that are growing through the fence? Yes, said the neighbour. She went and cut some herbs and gave them to them. And she came out as well. And now there were 3 neighbours, all stood around the 2 travellers and their pot with their soup stone. Oh, thank you, said the travellers. Oh, this is fantastic. Stirred, stir. They got their finger. They plunged it in. That was good soup. Yes, that's good soup. But do you know what it could do with? Carrot. Carrot? Said the third neighbour. I think old Mr. Timmins over there grows carrots on his allotment. Shall I go? Oh, yes, if you wouldn't mind, said the travellers, that'd be marvellous. And so the third neighbour went and got old Mr. Timmins. Old Mr. Timmins came out and he brought carrot. And carrot went into the soup. Stir. Finger. Oh, said the travellers, this is delicious. Oh, my goodness me. By this time, a few more neighbours had come out and joined the crowd. They were all jostling and trying to see what was going on with these 2 mysterious men that had just turned up. Oh, yes, carrot. Oh, the carrot makes all the difference, said one traveller. Yes, I agree, said the second traveller. Maybe though, I could do a little bit of potato. Yes, I've got potatoes, said somebody at the back. Oh, potatoes, fantastic. Somebody scampered off and brought back potatoes. Somebody scampered off and brought back turnips. Somebody scampered off and brought back some sweets. Somebody scampered off and brought back celeriac. Yes, somebody scampered off and brought back pumpkin. Somebody scampered off and brought back a little piece of lamb. Ingredients got added to the pot, and the pot was stirred, and everyone agreed that it was smelling good now, until one traveller put his finger in and this is delicious, but you know what this could do with? What, said the second traveller? Some bowls. He said, because I don't know about you, but I can't be putting my hands into soup. We can't eat stone soup with our hands. Oh, no. Bowls, said somebody from the back. I've got bowls. And off they went. Bowls were brought. Not just 2 bowls, but 3 bowls, 4 bowls, 5 bowls, 5 bowls. Every single person standing around that pot brought a bowl. And the travellers spooned it out into their bowls and gave their bowls to the thin-lipped woman. They gave their bowl to the second neighbour, and they gave their bowls to the third neighbour, and as empty bowls were passed to them, they filled them up and they shared them out amongst the huge crowd. Every single villager had turned out onto the green. And every single villager who started off with a mouth like this soon had a mouth like this, as they were spooning the soup into their own mouths. They ate and they ate and they ate and they ate until their bellies were full. Oh, I forgot to say, just as the thin-lipped woman was scraping the dregs from the bottom of her bowl, she looked over to the travellers and she said, have you eaten? Have you had some of this delicious stone soup? Oh, well, we've had a small egg cup full because there are only egg cups left, but do you know, it's absolutely fine. And the travellers looked at the thin-lipped woman and said, our hearts are full with all of these smiles that we've made in this village here. This is enough for us. Thanks ever so much. And with that, they gathered up all of their things, they tidied up, and they left the grass as clean and as pristine as it originally was. There was not a scorch mark left on that earth. And as people were talking and chatting with each other and swapping recipe ideas and agreeing to swap seeds so that different food could be grown in the allotment, nothing like this had ever happened before. The village came together, and as they were all talking and chatting and eating and smiling and dancing and singing, the two travellers left. Nobody seemed to notice at first, but eventually, when they did, one felt a little bit sad. They wanted to thank the men, the two mysterious men that nobody knew the names of, that turned up in the middle of the day on a strange and boring Wednesday. But they'd gone. They couldn't be contacted. Nobody knew who they were or where they'd gone to. But they decided to remember them. Every single year from that year onwards, that village comes together in the middle of summer, and they have a fire in the middle of the green, and they all come together and they make stone soup. But they don't make it for themselves. They make it for their neighbours. And that is the happiest village that I've ever visited. Oh, thank you so much. Everything has a beginning, everything has a middle, and everything has an end. And I'm afraid I've got to the end of my storytelling for today. The story of Little Lord Featherfrock and the story of Stone Soup. Oh, Alistair, yeah, that's one of my favourite stories as well. I haven't told it nearly as much as I really should do, but I would like to, thanks Claire, I would like to do a live telling of that and a live making of soup as a community project one day. I'm not quite sure of the logistics of how I'm going to manage that. I think I need to find somebody with a massive saucepan and a massive ring burner or something. But I would like to tell it slowly, over the course of an afternoon, and then eat soup with people that I don't know and people that I do know. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I'll let you know. It could be your signature dish on MasterChef. It certainly could be. I don't think they'd let me on MasterChef, which is a cooking competition program in the UK. But my cooking skills are not great. But I can do toast quite well, though. But yeah, if I do manage to achieve that, though, I will let you know and maybe film it as well. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Anyway, it is nearly 20 to 7 in the UK. It is dinner time for a lot of people. King Louis, have you had your dinner yet? I wonder. You're looking quite cosy there. I think you've probably got a nice full belly, haven't you? Oh no, are you outside? I can't see where you are. Anyway, I've got some burgers in the oven. Oh, thank you so much for your amazing tale, says Louis. Thank you so much, Louis. That's really, really kind. I really love telling to you guys on a Friday. It's wonderful. I really should do it more often. But now I have to go and look at my own cooking pot because I do have some dinner cooking and I don't want it to burn, although I am very good at burning dinner. So I'm going to go and check in on that and fill my own belly as well. Thank you ever so much for joining us. If you are free at 6 o'clock next Friday, oh my goodness, we've got a treat for you. We've got the fantastic Deborah Weller from America, from the USA. She is just the sweetest and loveliest. Oh my goodness me, if apple pie was a person, it would be Deborah. She is so adorable and a really lovely, lovely, lovely teller. She is just so wonderful. So please make some time in your day to come and join us next Friday at 6 o'clock GMT here at the World Storytelling Cafe. I'm going to sign off now. Have a beautiful evening, everybody. Bye-bye.